welcome back to Politically Incorrect with Andrew Forgione here on Big Purple Couch. I'm your host, Christine Clark, and joining us we have Mr. Jon Silver.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, welcome back to the show. And we just released our preliminary polls last night, and you're in first place with 41%. Is that exciting? A little nerve-wracking? How's it feel?
It's exciting, but I think it's not reflective of what's actually going to be happening in a couple of days now. So I hope that everyone looking at it looks at it for fun and, seriously realizes that this is not a reflection of at all what's going to happen on Wednesday.
Right, for sure.
Great. We're going to jump into a couple platform questions. So I wanted you to elaborate a little bit more on the spoke beer concept. I did a little bit of research myself and some knowledge I had earlier, but since we don't have our own liquor license in general, and we're one of the largest purchasers of Molson in the city, how do you discuss going around this? I feel like it was sort of going back to like a wine rack discussion, such as Emily Rowe in her time.
Yeah, that's a good question. The idea originally came from the Grad Club, that is run by SOGS, and we talked to them, and they actually go to Sleeman, and they provide like a lower. They're not their premium brand. They provide like kind of a lower brand, and they just rename it. I think the steps that we take is number one, ensuring that we're very clear with Susan Grinrod at the university who controls the liquor license what we're trying to do. We'd have to work with Jeff Armour through his contacts with the beer companies to make sure that this is something that they're okay with. And at the same time, we have to realize that we're only putting it into one bar. It wouldn't be up at the Wave. It would be spotlighted. We would not have any brand loyalty, so it wouldn't be like we're promoting a Sleeman beer or promoting a different company's beer. It would be a no-name brand. It would have to be a conversation, but I think that given the Grad Club does it, I think it's very feasible and possible.
Okay.
For sure, though. And I know you were talking about the strong relationship we have with Molson, and it is the Spoke, which is the primary place where people get alcoholic beverages on campus. Do you think that would hurt our relationship with Molson, or is it worth it in a way?
I think it's a conversation that has to be had, and if elected, I would love to have that conversation and work through our contacts. I think that we need to realize that the Spoke is a source of pride for a lot of students. We wouldn't want to hurt relations with beer companies, but we also want to give students a little bit of something that they're excited to come to. And I know that Seeps has great relations with all the bar companies. I think it's important that we pursue an objective, not just because it's going to be the most financially feasible thing or that it's going to be hurting our relationships. We pursue it because students have expressed interest in this idea, and students have been very excited about this idea.
For sure. And now switching from beverages to the food, to the Starving Student Burger that you mentioned. If we were to subsidize that burger, basically you would have two options to either have the Spoke take the hit or pay for it with the midnight breakfast that Andrew did. What option do you think what path would you take with that, I guess?
Are you asking like whether or not I would throw it with breakfast to subsidize it?
No, sorry. You would either let the Spoke take it in their operating revenue or their just take a hit, or subsidize with a platform, a portfolio budget line, or through a board initiative budget line, or one of your own PVPs.
We talked about this with Jeff Armour, and what he told us is that if we did it, it would be a combo deal, so you wouldn't take the hit on the other parts of the meal. The burger would be at relative cost, but the fries and the drink would be at the same price. It wouldn't offset revenue too much. It also depends on how much interest is expressed in the burger, whether or not we're offering it weekly. In the platform it says weekly, but I'd be flexible to move it into a monthly situation.
Okay.
It's something that we're giving students as a treat. I think that oftentimes we're focused on money and profit and making these sustainable, which is important. But if we can do interesting things that get students into the restaurants, get students excited about being part of the USC, I think that's also an objective we need to be very cognizant of.
Just another follow-up on that. So in the Spoke, we pride ourselves on having no cover, a lot of free events, et cetera, et cetera. Do you feel that this is a top priority for students to receive a subsidized burger and then maybe have to start paying for cover or paying for some sort of, because we already have razor-thin margins on a lot of our products, like the CLT is approximately 10 cents, for example. So you think it's a high priority for students to get a cheaper burger versus?
I think that it's a priority that can be examined. Like most platforms are pilot projects at first because none of these ideas have been tested. That's why they're new ideas.
Right. Yeah.
So I think it'd be worth testing, seeing the student response. The response so far that I've heard has been positive. I think it's very important too, though, that we keep this space free, we keep this space open to students, and if this is going to offset that, I think there are ways that we can tamper with things to make sure that we're providing a service to students in this space while also providing that food to them.
For sure.
Great. So another Spoken Wave question, for example, the voting on the Spoken Wave. So we started this year allowing students to vote on the bagels, for example, with great success, and it's an awesome idea. The only issue I ran into when I started looking more into the corporate side of it It's very expensive changing our menu, as you probably know. So how do you combat the training of the staff, having to taste the staff to taste it to become competent with the menu, and creating sort of brand loyalty with the customers? Because right now, if we took the buffalo chicken wrap off the menu, we'd probably get
Yeah.
And the reality is, I think that students would vote for the buffalo chicken wrap because it's the most popular thing. I don't think we're going to lose the CLT. That's not my intention at all. My intention is to give students. Yes, I love the buffalo chicken wrap. I'm a loyal fan. The intention is to give students an option to give us more feedback. It wouldn't be a monthly thing. It would be a cyclical thing, like a cycle, or I don't know what the
like
financial
seasonal maybe?
A seasonal.
Okay.
Yeah.
We also offer the winter features menu that we do at the Wave, which I think is great. A lot of students know about it. So usually what happens is that with that winter menu, they take the top menu and they consider it for next year, the top menu item.
Right.
I think it's using the venues that we have, asking students questions. Again, the bagels worked really well. I think it's building upon that, but not losing sight of our business model. And I don't want to lose sight of the business model.
Great.
What I really want to do is give students that input, allow them to suggest things, and if students are really excited about a menu item, that means they're going to buy it.
Right.
So yes, we're not going to be changing the business model. What we're going to be doing is giving students more input, and I think that's never a bad thing.
And for sure. And is there anything in your platform, we talked a bit about this in the last interview, it's a large platform. What is the one thing you think might not happen on it?
It's a very fair question. It's a large platform. I'm going to be relying a lot on managers to help me implement these ideas, as every executive should. I'm not an expert on food and beverage or buildings. I've consulted with experts in preparing the platform. The one thing that I think is the least feasible, and it's only because it relies on other people and not on the USC,
Right.
is the alumni mentorship program. The idea came from a conversation that I had with one of the senior administrators about trying to get alumni connected to Western to increase fundraising dollars, right?
Right.
The university is always looking for more money. They're a university.
Right.
So what I thought of is, why don't we get mentors that are in the community who have money, they have jobs, get them connected with students, because that's going to put them back in touch with Western, and it's going to give students resources out in the community that they can learn from.
Right.
That's going to be something that I'd love to pitch to the university, love to work with the Alumni Association on. Now, again, we're relying on outside parties, and when you rely on outside parties, you can never guarantee that they're going to come through. But I think given the angle that I proposed it at, I think it would be something that would be definitely be feasible in the future.
For sure. And just to wrap it up here, which one of the candidates do you think would make the least successful USC president?
Least?
Yeah, the least successful.
We asked them all, so.
Yeah.
That's a cutthroat question. I'm going to have to say Claire. And I haven't heard the other answers, so I don't know if I've been implicated in this. And the only reason why is I think there's a huge learning curve at the USC. And I respect Logan for coming to meetings this year and trying to get as much information as possible. And we all know Adam has been involved for many years. And I think that learning curve, you have 11 months in the job. You have 2 months for transition, so those are learning months, but 11 months as president without the interference of the incoming or outgoing president. And that's the only time you have to implement a giant platform that everyone is promising. So I
Right.
think it's important that you come into it as prepared as possible. And I don't know if Claire has the knowledge to be approaching things like a fall reading week, where it's so complicated with the university and trying to get them and the different levels of advocacy and lobbying.
Right.
It's important to have that knowledge. You have 11 months. It's important to have someone experienced.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jon, for coming back on the show.
Thank you guys for having me. I
For
appreciate
sure.
the tough questions.
And we have all of the candidates here on the show, so be sure to check that out and more on bigpurplecouch.ca.